Hi, welcome to another Lawn Fawn video. I'm Kara and today we're getting dizzy with a spinner card. I'm using words from several sets for the sentiment that was Offset Sayings Christmas. This is Be Happy, and the last one is from Car Critters. The sentiment will also include letters from Oliver's Stitched ABCs and the exclamation point from Oliver's Stitched 1, 2, 3s. They are cut out from Lawn Fawn's metallic cardstock, the holographic pack, and here's what's in the pack. They're all different designs which refract the light different ways, and so I used the one that has kind of like a multi-cut diamond. I also used the largest lacy heart stackable and the medium outside-in stitched heart stackable. Paper from the Really Rainbow Petite paper pack, and the scalloped slimline with hearts landscape, and I just cut a small piece of guava cardstock to inlay in that one heart, and then a small piece of the holographic paper so that I didn't have to waste any of that precious cardstock. All right, this is a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch note card, and I'm positioning the front panel and the heart on top, and I want to cut through all those layers. So in order to make sure that it's at the same spot for each one, I'm going to cut them all at once. I'm adhering the front panel, but not in the center, just along the edges. And I'll do the same with this lacy heart. And even if my heart die doesn't cut through all of the layers, at least I'll have this impression of where it should cut, and I can just peel off layer by layer until I have them all cut. So I went to my die cut machine and ran it through, and now I'm peeling off that top layer and the middle layer, and I'm looking at the back side and it didn't cut all the way through, so I'm going to line up my heart in there, make sure it's all where it was before. Ran it through my die cut machine again, and it cut out just fine. So that's the opening for the spinner, and I'm going to set that aside and start on what will be spinning. And so I need two sides to this because I want to put a piece of string in between. I'm switching out the letters for love with the holographic letters, but I'll wait till the hearts are glued together to inlay those letters. My mom moved in with us a couple of years ago, and she's a big quilter, and so we have a little sewing room set up for her downstairs, and so I get to raid her thread, and this is holographic thread. I don't really think she uses it for anything, but she entered a quilt into a contest and won a whole bunch of thread from Maderna. So this is Maderna thread, and I like it because it's strong and also it's holographic. So I'm putting some glue down the middle of my heart, and I'm just going to lay that sort of in the middle of my thread, and this thread is just the size of the card, so it's 5 1/2 inches. And now I'm putting on some glue and I'm going to glue them together. And when I did this, I realized that I didn't have a lot of base for those letters to sit on. So like an Oreo cookie, I'm just opening it back up, and I'm going to put a little piece of white paper in there just to act as a base to adhere my letters. And so we'll just call this the filling in in the Oreo cookie here. A little more glue, and then we'll sandwich that back together, and that'll give me a good base to glue in those letters. There's lots of ways to adhere tiny little letters, but I'm just putting a little glue on my finger and then running the letters through the glue and just putting them in like a puzzle. I could have also had adhesive on that white cardstock inside and just adhered it to the cardstock. Or I could have put those letters through a little sticker maker and just add them that way, but this way worked just fine for me. I love making spinner cards. They're just kind of that little element of surprise, and just having that suspended piece that twirls. I don't know, I just find it kind of fun. I guess it reminds me of the little ballerina jewelry box I had when I was a little girl. You know, you just open the box and the dancer starts twirling, and I don't know, it's the kid in me, but I think these are fun, especially to give to a little girl, because I don't know, most little girls like to twirl, and it just reminds me of that. Okay, back to our letters. So I'm putting in the V and then the E, and I did the same on the other side with the love letters. And now that they're all together, I had to make sure it twirled, and of course it does. All right, now how to add it to the card. Typically, I would add it before I assembled the panels, but since I didn't, I am going to use a palette knife and separate the layers. Now I used a tape adhesive, so it's, oh boy, it's a lot easier to separate than if I had used glue. So I just keep chiseling away. If I had thought more about this, maybe I would have just adhered one side of the panel in the beginning, but there's always a workaround. So here we go. I'm just taking my time, and eventually it gets released there. So now I can put that string in between that middle layer. Now I could have put it between the layer on the lacy heart, or I could have put it inside the front panel of the card and put another piece of paper over that. But I thought this was going to be the best look for this, kind of a seamless look, to put it in that main panel there. All right, I'll pull that string both from the top and the bottom to make it taut, and I want to make sure that it's right in the center so that the heart can be centered as well. And once I have it where I like it, then I can re-adhere the rest of that panel back down, put a little more tape on there just to make sure that it will adhere. And got to readjust that string again. Thankfully, the glue is not fully dry. Once I have this where I want it and the string is taut, then I can take a scissors and just open up that panel just a little bit and clip off the ends of the string. The glue is going to hold it down, so I didn't need to tie anything anywhere. One nice thing about cutting that rainbow panel out is that we can use the center of that on the inside of the card, and I'm going to center it right behind so that it looks kind of like it's part of the front of the card when it's fully closed. And when it's open, it's just going to be part of the inside. So it also helps me to know where not to write on this card so that the writing wouldn't show up in the window. Okay, well, time for the rest of that sentiment that goes around the word love. And so I've cut out the letters for Dizzy and for you, but I've got these little words to complete the sentiment. And one thing, when I'm stamping on a stamp block, and I have something very little like that, I like to position the stamp on the edge of the block. I feel like I have more control over it than when I put it in the center. So I used clear ink and I stamped that on there. Now I'm going to use the silver embossing powder. Just sprinkle that on there and tap it off. And then I will melt that embossing powder with my heat gun. I'll do that off camera. Here it is all melted. And then the next one will be the word with. And I'm just putting them on this little strip of white cardstock. Now this strip is about 3/8 of an inch. And here's my word with. This one is from Offset Sayings Christmas. And I've got that clear ink, but first I want to make sure that I have my anti-static powder on there so I don't have a lot of little extra bits of embossing powder where I don't want it. Tap that off and I'll heat that up again with my heat gun to melt that. And here it is, all set. Now the last little word that I wanted to use is the word in, and this comes from a sentiment from Car Critters. I just clipped it apart. It can go together again easily, but where to put this? Well, I really wanted it on that guava heart. Not the time to do it. Should have done this before, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to go for it. So, living on the edge here. So I Stamped it on the heart, and I'm putting a piece of paper underneath to catch that silver embossing powder. Just sprinkle a little on and flip it up and tap it off, and I'll go heat this one up as well. Just getting that powder out of there so it doesn't get on other things. And ta-da, it worked. Time to do the second one, and I'm feeling a little more confident since I saw that the first one went fine. Stamp the word in and put my paper behind to catch the extra powder. I'm just adding that powder on there and flipping it up, and it looked like maybe I needed to fix that. So I got my little pick out, but I thought, okay, tap it off one more time. Well, I tapped it off and it looks good. So now all I have to do is heat that, and there it is, all done. Phew, little suspense here. And you gotta have suspense in a video, right? Well, all right, so now it's just a matter of putting all of this together. And so what I'd like to do first is position these letters where I want them. And since the word is dizzy, I wanted it a little bit angled, a little at different heights, just so that it kind of reflected that word. And once I have them where I like, then I'm going to hold down that card because it kind of was opening there, and I'm gluing on each letter, and I'm keeping everything else where it is so that I can kind of put back each letter where I think it should go. And so the sentiment says, I'm dizzy in love with you. And the dizzy, of course, is because we have a spinner card here. When I was thinking about putting this card together, I knew I wanted to use the metallic cardstock, the holographic type, but I wasn't sure what colors of paper to put with it. And so I had all kinds of different cardstock colors and took photos of the letters lying on the different colors of cardstock, and I realized it's just so rainbow that the really rainbow papers came to mind. All right, well, I just cut a little flag out of that little banner there for the I'm, and I glued on just the one part of the D so that I could cut it off, and it looks like that banner's coming from the D. And I wanted the banner to be straight horizontally, and so I just kind of figured out where that D on the angle was going to fit with it. So now we've got that glued on, and we'll do the same thing with the bottom part of the sentiment. So I have the word you, and I just thought, wow, this needs an exclamation point. So I went and cut out that, and that's from the Oliver Stitched 1, 2, 3s. And I'm angling these letters similar to the top, a jaunty type angle, if you will, up and down. Once I have figured out where I want it, I'm gluing that all down, and then I'll add the banner the same way. It's funny, my husband will never get surprised on Valentine's Day with his card because he's my best critic. So I always show him, so what do you think? Is this good, do you think? And so the poor guy, I'm bad with surprises anyway. I mean, I really can't keep those very well because I get too excited. But, it'd be nice if I could one time make him a Valentine card that he doesn't see before he opens it on the day. Well, just like with the D, I am angling that Y the way I want it, and then cutting off the extra from the banner, and then I will glue this on, and the little banner will be straight horizontally where my Y will be angled a bit. All right, time to wind this baby up and see how she spins. Okay, closed it, and all right, well, a little anticlimactic, so I'm going to wind it up a little bit more, and there we go. That spins real nice, so try it again. And of course, I had to play with this probably 10 times, spinning it around. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video today and that encouraged you to maybe make a spinner card for yourself. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye!